Greetings, one and all, to another power discussion for UA High. Today, I found out, and I, being the great and powerful ChromoMaster, found out that All Might, the pillar of justice and peace in today's society, has fallen because he can no longer use his quirk. And so our power discussion will be following him, Toshinori, his master, Nana, and finally the current 9th bearer of All for One. One for All. Izuku Midoria. The quirk being One for All. Let's talk.
One person improves the power, then hands it off to another person. It continues to grow as it's passed along. It is this cultivated power that allows me to save those who are in need of a hero.
We find out early on that the quirk is meant to... we found out early on that the quirk is indeed meant to stockpile power. That's the whole point of one of the quirks. The quirk was birthed when multiple quirks merged into one, as All for One gave his brother a quirk which is the power to stockpile power. Don't know what that means on a quirk by itself. Theoretically, it would be useless. However, they had the power to transfer their quirk. Meaning, their quirk, which was pretty much useless on its own, combined with this other quirk to make it a power stockpiling thing throughout generations, provided it does get passed on. Boom. What does that mean in general then? Well, given that we know the first bearer was All for One's brother, there were then a second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth generation before Nana, which was Toshinori's, All Might's master. Following her death, we know it's death, there is All Might. All Might is the 8th bearer. All Might got drastically wounded years ago in a battle with All for One. So, All Might, recognizing, because he was a quirkless person as well, recognizing himself in Izuku Midoria, decided to give Midoria his quirk. The quirk had, up to this point, assuming Nana was not quirkless when she got given the quirk from whomever gave it to her, we can safely say that it had 7 generations worth of bonus powers. And we don't know for sure if it takes physical strength or whether it's just quirk abilities, like my own ChromoMaster. We just don't know. But assuming it is just quirks, and all of the people who had it after All for One's brother, up until All Might, had quirks. Given that, we can assume that the power of One for All, sorry, they're very similar names. I feel as though they should have been named differently, but hey, I'm assuming that All for One named them, so he's a dick. One for All's power is the equivalent to or greater than 8 quirks. Whether that is 8 with compound value timesing it. So that is the first one at the second one, or times by the second one's power, which then that total gets times by the third one's power. That one gets times by the fourth one's power. That one gets times by the 5th, then the 6th, then the 7th. Then you end up with All Might. And there are some theories that All Might has had other quirks, which we should discuss. which is the muscle form power, which is to show that, yes, he has his standard I'm a human form with a very, very pointy chin, and then he has his do not worry, for I am here kind of form. That second one, he can still use, even though he is no longer able really to use One for All. Meaning it might be a separate quirk, and the other quirk took part of it, and then moved on, or it didn't take any of it. But why wouldn't it compound that power? It's an interesting question. So I don't believe that's a quirk. I think that's just something that happens. Say if this were a fictional thing, it might just be something that the writer wanted to do. But of course this is real life, and I only know about this because of the news. Yeah, so Izuku Midoriya, how do I know that they are the current bearer? Well, I've got a man on the inside. Well, a woman on the inside, to be specific. Here's a hint. She's invisible. Anyway, enough about that. Yes, Izuku Midoriya currently has the power. As All Might stated when he first gave him the power could kill him if he doesn't train properly. Meaning that he does need to just be like, wah, 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 super buff and ready for it, so he can use all of the power. It's obviously way too much for him at the moment because he always breaks himself, but he's developed the full cowling technique, which is what I would imagine is very similar to All Might's muscle form, in that it spreads it out evenly across the whole thing, but rather than just bulking up like All Might did, because All Might was incredibly fast, but I feel as though if he was leaner, probably would have been faster. Instead of just going ahead and doing that, what Izuku does is Izuku gets his power and spreads it through what he already has without gaining any extra muscle mass. Yes, he has to have like a particular density in order to be able to handle certain percents of the power. Hence why when he first got full cowl it was like 5 or 6%, and now he's worked his way up to 8 to 10%. It makes sense as he's gotten stronger and his body's got used to breaking down whilst he uses it, and rebuilding, it's going to get used to that tensile strength. Tensile strength? Used to taking that level of tension. So he's doing his thing, and he's going to keep getting faster and faster and better until he can use 100%. Just all the time, through his whole body, wrecking faces. And I'm pretty sure he's going to be the #1 hero one day. In fact, as far as I'm aware, he said that his life so far, that I know of, has been the story of him becoming the #1 hero. How that's going to go, I don't know, because there are others like Todoroki and what's his name? I don't know, but one of the senior students at UA. They're very good. Their quirks are very powerful, and they know how to use them, which is the main thing. But it could be there are more than one #1. You don't need a single pillar of hope. What you need is a full, gosh darn structure spanning the world, holding up hope, as opposed to just one pillar, like somehow holding up hope for the entirety of the world. How would they do that? I guess it's like Atlas holding the sky. But there's only so much you can do. That's problematic. But anyway, yes, Izuku, he's doing well learning to control the quirk. But the whole deal with muscular, he got wrecked, then he went out, and he couldn't do anything against All for One. Like, just straight up, right now, he is not ready for that. But I think he will be one day. And the quirk is very powerful. We don't know much details about it other than the fact that it's currently used to buff physical strength and speed and potentially endurance. I don't think it has been used for a feat of endurance yet. However, potentially if Izuku does go into full cowling, it might work kind of as a sort of small protective barrier, like in the fictional art work of One Piece. There's armament hockey. It could hockey. I don't know. It could be something like that. I just don't know. But either way, strength and speed are enhanced greatly. It may just be that speed is enhanced through his strength enhancements. So every movement he takes, his muscles move harder, which makes them move faster, as opposed to him actually being able to cognitively choose to do things at a higher and more accelerated rate. We just don't know. There's a lot we don't know about this quirk, and the thing I'm most interested in, and I'm about to speculate on, is the compiling element, because we know you can give it to other people. That's fine. I have one thing to say about that later. But for now, stockpiling power. That is an interesting quirk, because if it's stockpiling power as in energy, that means that you can run out of stockpiled energy. But that would make sense for a singular person to have, because then they could just om nom nom, eat a lot of food. They will stockpile the power in their body, but not in form of fat or anything like that, for their body, and then they can just release it. And then that release is insanely powerful, whatever they want to do. Or they can release it slowly over time for, like, I guess a feat of endurance in a marathon run. They wouldn't really have to do much training or anything. They would just constantly have the energy that they need to keep going. All they need to do is cardio for their lungs, so they can actually breathe during it. Otherwise, they wouldn't have to worry about getting tired or anything, because if they eat enough, boom, they can go. Or is it literally stockpiling quirks? Because if so, as I said earlier, if All Might has got the muscle form quirk, that could be a little wee bit of an issue, because All Might, he's still got that. Izuku doesn't have that, though he can do a very good All Might impression with his face. Yeah, Izuku doesn't have that. So if it stockpiles that, does it just not count that as a power? Because I'm pretty sure that's power, because it would explain why, as Gran Torino says, it would explain how All Might was able to just use the full percent to start with. It's not like he would look particularly super buff at the time. I don't know. It doesn't really make sense to me otherwise. And if it does stockpile power, could it be quirks and other power? If it is other power, is it just energy in which it can run out, as I said? Because I'm pretty sure it would have done that by now. Or does it sort of store energy, but also replicate the energy? It gets a maximum amount of energy, and then it will just maintain it. You can take energy out of that, but it will just stay. Or as we've seen the imagery in the anime, and potentially in the manga, I don't remember. By the anime and manga, obviously, I mean news and newspapers. I'm a character in the world, okay? I don't know what that was all about. So, yes, as we've seen in the TV, on the TV and in the newspapers, potentially on the newspapers, but definitely on the TV, it's shown as a fire that needs to be rekindled every now and again. But once you've passed it on to someone, like All Might did, then you cannot rekindle it. You just have the singular flames left over. It's a finite amount, and yeah. So it could be the stockpiling of power is actually effectively a human arc reactor for the current bearer, and then you pass it along. You pass along the arc reacting, but you still have everything you had at that point, and then you have a diminishing supply, and you can run out, which is what's happened to All Might. it would make sense. But then that also means that, theoretically, you could go up to a 100% smash, as has been done. You could go higher. Sorry, I've got a wound from crime fighting, for I'm a pro hero. Anyway, yes, you could get your 100% smash, which obviously is all of the power inside of you. Like that full maximum capacity that the quirk has reached. That's been done. We've also had a 10,000% smash, or something like that. Well, they may have been exaggerating when they said it, or it could be they build up the smash. So they're like 100, 200, 300, 400, so on, that it just keeps adding to it and adding to it over and over and over again. Then they do the smash. So it's like, yeah, sure, I'll output one. Oh, you need an extra set? Sure, we've regenerated, so take some more, and so on and so forth. Which would make sense, but you feel as though it would take a bit longer, though they do have to say it. Usually when they say it, it's like 1,000,000% smash! Brofist, as the Poods would say. Oh! Anyway. Yeah. That would explain why it takes so long for them to say it, because they're building up that power. The power, which is vitally important. Otherwise, how do they get to that? And also, if they could do that, why is it that All Might's basic Detroit Smash, etc., so much stronger than Izuku's? Because Izuku had to use, like, a lot on Muscular. Hello, this is ChromoMaster in post. I've realised that it has been said Izuku's 1,000,000% Detroit Smash against Muscular may not have actually been 1,000,000% of his ability. This is apparently a factual thing. However, there is no comment so far on anyone who has studied it extensively, say, as extensively if this were to be a work of fiction, the creator. There's no word from such people about whether or not All Might's plus ultra attacks, which, as Midoriya does say, each of his normal attacks were above 100% of his normal power. There is no mention of that. So while Izuku's wasn't actually 1,000,000% of the power he has access to, it's still theoretically possible to go above 100% of your power that you have available. So, I just felt I needed to throw this in, just so you're all aware that I'm aware. ChromoMaster, out! Whereas, the only time that All Might really pushed himself really far before All For One is when he was fighting the Nomu in the USJ.
World symbol of peace and justice! Withstand me firing at 100% of my power, then I'll have to go beyond that and force you to surrender! Go beyond! Plus!
And it was shock absorbent, so he had to put in enough shocks to remove, like, to get through the absorbing, because if you absorb it, there's only so much you can take, unless you as opposed to negation. So they worked that out. So they were like, boom, okay, I'll just keep hitting you until you can't take anymore. There is a limit. Reach the limit. But he put a lot into that last one that sent him through the roof. I don't remember how much, but I believe it was over 100%. But even so, that one punch, that's stronger than anything Izuku's done. And most of the punches leading up to that, just all the normal, like, as Saitama would say, as the normal series... Crime fighting's tiring work, I apologise. Series of...
normal punches.
As Saitama would say. Yeah. That series of consecutive normal punches from All Might really should have... Like, if that was a normal person, they'd be dead. Just dead. Straight up. Because they were so powerful. They were probably about as powerful as what Izuku did to Muscular. I'm not sure how that works then. It could be that it stockpiles and amplifies your power, your personal power, by a certain amount. And for some reason, eventually your body learns to take it. I suppose then you're just using the form all the time and learn enough control where you can just pick up a knife and fork without shattering the universe. Somehow, All Might doesn't have that. All Might just has to trigger the quirk for specific moments, but he has his muscle form as well. It's strange, and we don't really know enough about it. Now then, the other part of the quirk, the passing on the quirk part, is done when you willingly give someone some of your DNA for them to ingest under the purposes of passing on the quirk. How they figured out it has to be willing and stuff, I'm kind of worried. Like, has someone just taken a bite out of a previous holder of the quirk, and they've just been like, oh no, I'm going to lose the quirk, oh no! And then it never happened, and they were like, okay, I guess you have to be willing. I guess I'll find out. And how did the original bearer of the quirk know that's what you had to do? But the main thing is there's a guy. I don't remember his name, but he can copy other people's quirks. Just by touching them. It's like, boop! And then I think for about 5 minutes, he has that quirk. Well, the power to pass along quirks is a quirk in itself. So that guy with that power to steal quirks, if he were to steal one for all, boom, taken. He now has the same level of power Izuku has. And it's not stealing, it's copying. So Izuku also still has it. This guy plucks out a hair on his head, gives it to someone else. 5 minutes later, he's already transferred that power. Would his quirk be so that the transferred power, the person he transfers it to, loses it? Or do they now have that quirk as well? And then, that's... Oh, that was weird. Managed to stop myself from yawning though. Booyah! That's the true power of the ChromoMaster! Anyway, they may or may not have that power. I'm really interested to find out. I don't know if we ever will. Because if they do have that power, you have an infinite amount of generation there. Plus, if people pass the power, all of those powers back to, say, Izuku, because he's who he is at the moment, boom, say the dude copied it, gave it to everyone in UA. Like, just looking at Class 1A, that's like Todoroki, Bakugo, begins with an M, they're the Deputy Class President, I think it begins with an M. Oh man, I can't remember any of the girls' actual names. Uraraka, there's her, and I don't remember her name, but her hero name's Froppy. Yeah, get all of those people, give them all it, then they give it all back to one person. That person stockpiled all of those quirks. Plus, they've then stockpiled on top of that the original power that was taken from Izuku. the number of times the quirk has been copied and passed over. So say there's like 400 people at UA. There's probably more, but say 400. That's 400 lots of the current all for one power. All for one for all. I don't think that anyone could take that at all ever. Like, be it against them or using it. It's like, yeah, I'm just going to suicide one-shot this thing. Kamikaze all the way. I wouldn't do it. Sure, I would happily be one of the people, take the power, give it back. Because then they would have my ChromoMaster, which I have to say is a very useful power, though I don't think I'm going to be doing any demonstrations on it on these recordings. But yes, I have a crime to go and fight, so I'll leave you be. That's my thoughts and feelings on the powers of One for All. Up next in this here power discussion series, I don't know. It entirely depends. Hopefully, though, I'll get one out soon. Until then, be a hero, not a villain. Goodbye.
次はお前の番だ。頑張ろうな。